and welcome to Tara Mini Reads, Reviews, Discusses, Monologues about everything and anything, and that's on period. Hi guys, and welcome to my channel. So today I wanted to kind of talk about a book that I just finished reading, and that would be Oyinkan Braithwaite, Cursed Daughters. Now, this is going to be a really short review, but I feel like I just needed to put this out there. If the name of the author sounds familiar, it's because she wrote My Sister the Serial Killer, which came out a while back, and I think it was a really good read. I should have it on my shelf, but I think I lent someone and just never got it back. Anyways, I digress. We follow the Fallow family, and I'll give a couple of disclaimers here. This book is set in Lagos, Nigeria. I am from Lagos, Nigeria, so I connect a lot with this book. And I think that a lot of things that the author brought to light here is not something that's really talked about a lot. So I really enjoyed that part of it. Now, if you like superstitious, mami water, people that use jazz, going to doing witchcraft, mamalawos, babalawos, reincarnation, family trauma, family, superstitions. This is the book for you. I'm gonna get to it. This is gonna be slightly spoilery, so just maybe if you haven't read it, maybe come back after you've read it. But we follow three women, Eniyi, Ebon, and Monife. So Eniyi and Ebon are cousins, and Monife is the daughter of Ebon. We find out literally from the start that Ebon is dead, and they are at the funeral. And Eniyi is dead, and they're at the funeral, and Ebon is heavily pregnant. So she goes into labor the same day her cousin dies, and then she gives birth to a girl, that's Monife. And so we realize a couple of things, right? Any and Ebon are very close cousins up until something happens, which we do find out later what happened, and they're not so close, And then Eni has a brother who then kind of blames Ebon for the death of his sister. Um, this is all happening literally the first couple of chapters. So there's a lot to unpack, right? And then we also have the two mothers that are, the sisters, right? And so what we find out is that sometime in a very long time ago in the Fallow family, a woman was cursed. She stole someone's husband. And so when that person's husband, or when the man's first wife realizes that this lady, this Falodun lady, has stolen her husband, she places a curse on her and says, all of your generations and generations, women will struggle to keep a man. Something along that line. And that's basically, what is fueling the fact that, every of the characters in this family really believes that there is a curse. And the author goes an extra length to kind of tell us the backstory of all of the women that have come before we get to our three characters that we're talking about. And you can see how in their life it seemed like there really was a curse, because they would get a guy, and then along the way something will happen, and that whole thing would just be wiped away. So to some degree, it did seem like there was a curse, but again, I don't know. I think there was a curse, right? The way she wrote it, there kind of was a curse. But anyways, so, I like that, the way the story is told is we're going from current time to past time and back to current time. So we're following Eni when she's still alive as she's telling her story. We're following Ebon's story, and we're following Monife's story, which is in the present time. And you see how the lives of each of these ladies is intersecting, right? I think of all three of them, Annie was really she was the sweetest, but she was also kind of misguided. Well, again, I don't know if it was the curse. That's what I'm saying. Like, it was so hard to kind of distinguish if someone is behaving irrationally because of the curse or just because that's who they are. That's something that wasn't really like fleshed out. So I don't want to just really assume that everyone did the behave the way they did because it was a curse. Like the other impact of this curse was like one guy, one of the and he had a brother. I forget his name. Let's just say his name is Kunle. This guy then decides like, I don't want to have kids because what if I have a daughter and then she's also subjected to this curse? So he doesn't even have, he gets married, but he never has kids. So I'm just like, that is such a brilliant way to show the impacts of, how heavy these superstitious things the effect they can have. Because not just the women, but also the men are suffering too. Because you see this guy who, I mean, obviously the curse doesn't have anything to do with him, but he's like, I don't want my daughter to go through it. My sister died because of this curse. I'm not interested. And he's checked out. So I think that was really good. Now, into a little bit of spoilers, right? Annie is like, so basically this whole thing Annie's story is that she falls in love with a dude, but his parents do not agree because they're not, I guess, up to standard because the boy's rich, and so they kind of forbid the relationship. Annie is someone that really believes in the curse. She actually actively believes in the curse. Meanwhile, Ebon does not believe in the curse. That's her cousin that she's super close with. And so Annie, now when she's having issues with her boyfriend, she's now thinking like, oh my God, the curse is real. I have to do everything I can to avoid losing this boy because he's my future. So she goes the using jazz routes. I'm like, girl, you already have a family curse. Why are you also going to get, I don't know. And then the boy finds out, oh my God, it's such a hot mess, this whole book. Oh my God. So the boy actually finds out that she actually used well, she's like, oh, I didn't use the jazz. He doesn't care. He literally sees the thing, like a, very fetish looking stuff. And so that ends the whole relationship. But by the time Annie is pregnant and doesn't know, so when she realizes that she's pregnant, she like goes to him and I can't really remember exactly if she told him or I think she did. Did she? I don't know, guy. I can't really remember exactly. But basically, what I'm trying to say is she gets pregnant at the same time that Ebon gets pregnant, her cousin. This is a side story, side quest on its own. We don't really even get information about that. But Ebon gets pregnant. Now, this is where for me, Ebon was a very trashy character. Ebon then tells her, like, hey, your boyfriend has, not tells her, but we know from the way the story is progressing that her boyfriend has moved on and I think has actually married someone else. So everyone is telling her, like, you can't have this baby because, there's no baby daddy. Right. And he looked like he didn't want to even be in the picture. I can't remember if he knew or didn't know. But basically, Ebon then tells her, like, hey, let's go remove the babies. And so they go and they get the drug and they go home and it's like a pact, like, okay, you do it, I'll do it. So they both go their separate rooms with the understanding that they're both going to take the drug. Ebon doesn't take the drug. I was so annoyed. I was like, what? How could you do this? Meanwhile, Annie takes the drug. So she loses her baby while Ebon doesn't lose her baby. And so that is kind of like what pushed her to commit, to off herself. And so it makes sense when Ebon then she gives birth to Monife, who looks exactly like her dead cousin. And then you can imagine, like, she didn't do the pact with her cousin, but when her relationship with Monife is really fractured because maybe she felt guilty that she had her baby and her cousin lost her baby and her life. I don't know, but Ebon was a really terrible person. I don't like the way she was written. Like, everybody else was good, but you see, Ebon, that's one. No, 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 no. I didn't like her at all. I felt like she was a terrible person to her cousin. She was a terrible person to her daughter. She was also a terrible person to her mom. And she didn't, till the end of the book, even try to get any sort of redemption. I think even Annie, as a dead character, did more for the family than Ebon as she was alive. So, but so yeah. that was really the, so that's really the, okay, so and then after that something then happens with Monife, because it seems like Monife then goes and does the exact same thing that Annie went through. So it was really like a, that's where the reincarnation came. So it kind of felt like Annie possessed her to get her happy ending. That's how the author kind of, that's how we kind of read. But then I don't know why she just then decided, like, I don't want to be a pawn in this. I don't want to be ruled by anybody. I'm just gonna, so she gets up and goes. And then, fast forward, it's like 5 years later or 6 years later, she meets the same guy, and then they fall in love, and that's like lights out. So that ending was also kind of problematic, because it's like, what changed? I mean, the author did kind of intimate what changes. Any maybe defeated the curse, but the magic realism was done so very, very light that you could actually miss it, right? I wish that it was, more explicitly explained, but at the same time, I get it. It's like a mind thing. Like, was there really a curse or not? Like, that's for you to decide. That's basically what the story is about, is you decide if there was a curse or not. The author is not going to spoon feed it to you, right? But I prefer if the author did tell us. I mean, she kind of did, but at the same time, it just wasn't fulfilling enough for me. But spoilers over. Yeah, so that was Cursed Daughters. It was really good. I enjoyed it. I also liked the format. It was really short stories, in and out. Each character we would follow. Like I said, we're following these three POVs: Monife in the current time, Annie in the past, and I think also Ebony in the past. So it was really nice. With that short format, I think it worked. The story was also good, done in a really nice way. There were some twists, like the pregnancy one, and there was also some twists I'm not gonna get into, just in case you read the book. But at the end of the day, it was a good read. I'm not gonna deny it for what it was. I just feel like this is something that's very popular with African authors, is that they don't ever like to close the loop in their stories. Most of the stories I read are always kind of like left open-ended, or like left to the reader's interpretation. And it's almost like they themselves don't know how they want the story to end. So that is something that I have just found. It's just really similar across African authors. I don't know why. I'm reminded of the Ayobami book. I think it's somewhere here. I can't really remember, but that book too is just left really open ended, and I just didn't like that. So, if only the ending could be changed a bit, to give either a happy ending or just give a sad ending. I really hate open endings, because it's like, how do you interpret that? But anyways, this was a good read. Let me know if you read it. What did you think? Did you like it? Did you think that the author nailed, the atmosphere and, Nigeria growing up? I think she did. Like, I felt really connected to this book. It was just exactly everything that I had experienced growing up, and I think she did a phenomenal job in that. So thank you for watching. Let me know your thoughts if you've read Cursed Daughters. It'll be fun to see what everyone thought. But thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys in my next video. Until then, bye.